Welcome back to AM Northwest. Johnny Carson dominated late-night TV as the host of The Tonight Show for 30 years. Our next guest turned his obsession with Carson into a book that sheds new light on the man, his career, and his legacy. We welcome back to AM Northwest the author of Love Johnny Carson, comedian and podcast host Mark Malkoff. Great to see you again, Mark.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks again for having me back.
There is so much in this book, so many great little incidents and facts, and it is just absolutely a blast to read. So let's talk, though, about how your love came to be for Carson. Wasn't it your dad that got you into Carson?
Absolutely. When I was a young age, there were only really 3 channels at this point.
Yep.
And my dad would let me stay up on Fridays to watch Johnny Carson. And, you know, some of the political jokes were obviously over my head when I was really small. But there was just something so likable about Carson. He was always really funny with the animals, with kids. I loved the comedians. I loved the sketches. And there was just something for his 30 years. People still talk about him to this day. I think just America misses Johnny Carson, and I recognized his brilliance from a very young age, and my dad was responsible.
He was really a complex guy when you look at him. I mean, you interviewed, over 400 people for this book, right?
That's right. I talked to his staff. I talked to his friends. People that knew him in Nebraska, and you know, he was probably the most famous man in America,
yeah.
And he had a lot of people trying to get at him, so he was definitely would be closed off to people would say he was cold and aloof, but it was really self-preservation. When he was with his friends, they all told me the same thing. With his close friends, he would be the same Johnny Carson, almost the same person you would see on The Tonight Show, which was a huge revelation for me because his friends really were loyal and never talked publicly, but they knew I had no agenda. I wasn't out to do a gotcha piece or anything. So they really opened up, and I feel like I got the real Johnny Carson in this book, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, because you mentioned that everyone had different feelings about him. Some felt that he was a little too harsh. Some felt that he was, just a wonderful, warm, loyal, very loyal person.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, loyalty was the number one thing. I mean, that was what he valued. He had lots of friendships with a lot of people that were famous, some that weren't famous. It didn't matter. He was just all about authenticity, and he would stay in contact with people throughout retirement. I mean, the media tried to make him out to be this recluse, but he was really out and about. He did like his alone time on his yacht, but he was going to Africa. He was going to Russia. He was over having lunch with his former writers, and he really did consider coming back. But after 30 years, he just felt he did the best work he did, and that was what he wanted to be remembered for.
Let's talk about Johnny Carson in the 60s and going beyond.
Yeah.
Like, what are some thoughts? First of all, I was surprised. I can't remember when did Ed McMahon come on right away?
Yes, October 1st, 1962. They did a game show together called Who Do You Trust on ABC. And so many people were like, this game show host is going to replace Jack Paar, who was beloved host of The Tonight Show. And Ed and Johnny were together, for 30 years. They did 10 years in New York in Jimmy Fallon's studio now, 6B.
But Ed had to beg Johnny for his job because Johnny had somebody else in mind.
Johnny wanted his friend Hank Sims, who had been an announcer for another show he was on, and Hank didn't want to relocate to New York, and Ed was very, very wise and very shrewd, and he took Johnny out to a restaurant and got on his hands and knees, and there were tears coming down his face begging for him to be taken along, and it worked. So it was the best ask for 30 years of employment, for sure.
Let's talk about Johnny now in the 70s. And also, he had a real love for music, all types of music. I didn't know that, but it makes sense now. Like when you think of Bette Midler, and then you think of opera singers. I mean, there are all these different types of genres that he loved.
Yeah, I mean, as opera, country, I mean, he was really eclectic. I mean, the one type of music he didn't put on a lot was rock and roll, but he definitely had, everyone from Chuck Berry on. They did ZZ Top so they could cut to Johnny Carson with the long beard, the ZZ Top fake beard. So once in a while they would do that. But, Johnny was born in 1925, and when he was a kid, he would go to the Orpheum Theater and watch, Benny Goodman and those were the type of artist he really liked. He liked the jazz and he liked the swing music. People like Buddy Rich, but he could definitely appreciate talent. That was his number one thing. It was, if you are talented, I want you on my show.
Let's talk about who do you think was his biggest get when it comes to guests? Like, what was the most memorable guest?
Oh, goodness. I think maybe the most memorable guest was probably Ed Ames with the tomahawk, who, he was a big TV star, but Ed Ames threw it at the time in 1966. He threw a wooden cutout of a cowboy, a tomahawk, and it hit the target in the private area.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was shocking. Getting Elizabeth Taylor his final year was a big get. Jackie Gleason in 1986. But yeah, back then especially, he could never get Katharine Hepburn or Cary Grant or Jimmy Cagney on the show, but he got everyone else I feel like he wanted.
Talk about his relationship with Jay Leno, because I think a lot of people think that they did not get along at all, but you talk about, no, they did.
Jay had a manager who was very, some would say, ruthless. And she planted a story that NBC wanted Johnny Carson out, and that was not true. And Jay and Johnny did prefer Dave Letterman taking over, but Johnny knew that it came from Jay's manager and didn't think Jay had anything to do with it. And then in retirement, they were very friendly. And yeah, a lot of people think that there was bad blood, but there really, really wasn't. But yes, Dave was Johnny's preference for sure, but NBC felt otherwise, and Jay was number one for almost his entire run of 25 years.
He had his struggles with alcohol too.
He would talk about it on his show. He talked about it on 60 Minutes. It wasn't a secret at all. I mean, he would say that he would just have that one more drink, and he'd turn into Attila the Hun. And where some people got fun-loving when they would drink, he would want to fight the room. And it was a constant struggle for him. In 1982, he had an arrest for drinking and driving, and that was a wake-up call. And that's when he really got his drinking under control. But it was tough. He was so famous. Wherever he went, people were constantly sending drinks over to his table, and he felt obligated to take a sip here and there. But yeah, the alcohol was tough. But you have to remember, the first 10 years of The Tonight Show in New York, people were drinking and smoking on air. It was such a different time. Johnny would actually drink a glass of vodka, but he was doing an hour and 45 minutes. If you can imagine, The Tonight Show was that long when they first started.
Yeah, he had a glass of vodka and, I don't know, tonic or something on his desk, which I thought was fascinating. When you interviewed all these people, 400 some people, what was your biggest surprise? What did you find out that surprised you?
I had no idea how much they loved him. That's why the title of the book is called Love Johnny Carson. And I had no idea that this was the equivalent to having the best college experience. It's something they look at these years as some of the greatest moments of their life. And just, I still couldn't believe I was sitting down with these iconic people and just seeing them reliving going on Johnny in front of me and just thanking me for doing this. I didn't really know how many of those people just miss him, especially because he's been off the air for so long. But there was just this love for him that still remains today.
Oh, yeah, it does. Do you have a favorite interview that Johnny did?
Oh, goodness. I think maybe Johnny was when he was with the kids. Kids really good. The potato chip lady was really funny. She was this 66-year-old woman from Indiana who was a potato chip inspector. And I don't think she'd ever been to California, maybe never on a plane. And she would just see these potato chips in the shape of animals, people. And she went on the show and was just, America fell in love with her. And then Ed McMahon distracted her. And then Johnny chomped down on a potato chip. And she thought that, but it was actually a separate bowl of potato chips. And the woman almost had a heart attack. But it was such good television. And Johnny never made fun of the people that were, a lot of these people were very fish out of water being in Hollywood and going on television, but he made them feel comfortable, never made fun of them. And I think that was one of the reasons he stayed on top for 30 years.
In your podcast, you always ended your interviews with, who was Johnny Carson? What did he mean to you? So my question to you is, who was Johnny Carson? What did he mean to you?
Johnny Carson to me was represented Americana for 30 years. He just it's a time capsule into what America was at the time in terms of who was famous, the fashion, the politics, what was socially acceptable. It's just, I think he was a comedic genius. I mean, Jerry Lewis told me, or Jerry Lewis said that he compared him to Chaplin. I mean, in terms of somebody that's been off the air for that long, I mean, the YouTube channel, the official Johnny Carson YouTube channel, has over 1 million subscribers. People miss this man. There was something about him. He was the best to ever do it. And I think we're very lucky that we have YouTube to relive those funny moments. I mean, people are still going every day, and they just can't get enough.
Absolutely. We want to tell everyone the book again is titled Love Johnny Carson. It is a fascinating read. You're going to love it, everyone. And Mark Malkoff, thank you so much. Great talking with you again.
Oh, it's wonderful. This is a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.